Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of the Windows Insider Webcast. I'm excited to bring you the storage team once again for round two. We had some, we'll just call it technical mishaps when we had them on late in 2020. It was unfortunate, but it happens. But I also don't want to spend too much time in the past harping on things that don't always go right. So we've done a lot of homework since then, and if you joined us for last month's webcast, you will notice that things went much more smoothly. So we made some hardware changes, we made some settings changes, and yeah, we're back in business. We're doing things. They're going well. We have a ton of folks online again today. So the same thing that created problems in the past, you'll get to see everybody's smiling faces. We have, I don't know, it's anywhere from 7 to 8 different folks from the storage team that you will see on at any given segment. So we are pushing the boundaries of how we have done some of the technical aspects of webcasts in the past. If you'll remember, before the world kind of went through some of the changes that it has gone through, we would spend time in the conference room with everybody around the table. And now that we're all from home, we've had to do some adaptations. Things are going better now than they did at the beginning. So I'm thankful for that. I thank each of you for making the time to come in and hang out with us today. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. I know that I've learned a thing or two talking with the teams. And one other thing, and I don't want to steal the thunder from them, but when we originally had the storage folks on at the end of last year, we had to modify some of the content that we were going to display. And that was in relation to when certain check-ins were happening and when certain features were showing up and things like that. We have since done some more check-ins, more code has shown up for you, the insider. And so some of the content that we actually get to present on the webcast has actually changed a little bit. So you get even newer and more cutting edge stuff than you would have back at the end of last year. So I'm thankful for that. So, maybe a small thank you and a little mishap of a package. But anyway, once again, this is the February edition. It is February the 24th, maybe even the 25th, depending on where you are in the world. I'm going to go ahead and bring on the first set of folks. This is the group of awesome leads who help guide and steer the storage folks. Let me go ahead and get them on and get everybody's audio ramped up. I get to play host as with this at the same time as being your DJ here. So, as you can see on the screen, we have Chad, Randall, Ramon, and Ali. Hi, everybody. Say hello. You are live and in living color.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hi.
So, as is usual, when we do the webcast, we will do a quick round of introductions. I probably don't need to introduce myself, but I will real quick anyway. I am Jason Howard, Senior Program Manager here on the Windows Insider team. You can find me at North Face Hiker on Twitter. You see me each month, and I also do the podcast in case you tune into those. Shameless plug, aka.ms/WIP podcast. Anyway, now that plug's out of the way, Chad, I'm just going to go kind of clockwise in the way that I have folks laid out here on the screen. So, Chad, if you could go first, please.
Hey, everybody. My name's Chad Seifert. I'm lead of the Fundamentals North team in Vancouver, and we've been doing a lot of work in the storage area for the last 6 months to a year. I'm really excited to present the work to you, and I think the team's really stoked to show you guys what we've been up to.
I don't know if I missed that at the end of last year. I didn't realize you were up in Fun North.
Yep.
Maybe it's just a bad habit I have of presuming most folks are here in Redmond, but that is one of the really interesting things about the team, like the storage team in general. Like as the viewers will see, like there's folks quite literally scattered all across the globe on this team, and it's like it's definitely an international group effort to make this thing what it is.
Yeah, there's definitely a good chunk of the team in Vancouver, and then we have some folks that are working from, we've had folks working from India and England, and yeah, it's been an interesting year.
Excellent. Randall.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, indeed.
All right, Teams is giving me an indication that I'm not live, but I'll go with the flow. Randall Bozeman, I'm the director for the ENS team, which also encompasses Fun North, and I'm super excited to be here. Last time I was here, other than the hiccup we had a while back, was RS5 Bug Bash leader. So
yes.
super excited to be here again. love all the enthusiasm from the insiders. The feedback is great. Helping us understand, whether or not we've got the right qualities, whether or not we're delivering the right set of features to delight customers is always exciting and interesting to hear. And I know for sure because I got a little peep demo yesterday. You got a lot to be looking forward to today. It's pretty cool. Some great stuff from this team. Thanks.
Excellent. And you didn't by chance bring the giant green bug glasses this time, did you?
I did not. I moved, so they're in the box somewhere. So they're here.
Oh!
It's not accessible to me.
All right. I had to go back, and for folks that haven't seen it in a while, I just want everybody to know I still do have the taco hat. It is here. I brought it home from the office. It made the adventure. So
yes, that's right.
Continuing on clockwise, Ali, if you could introduce yourself, please.
For sure. Hi, everyone. I am Ali Khansari. I am also an engineering lead here in Fun North, Vancouver, Canada. We are super excited to be here, to be listening to your voices, to understand what you like and what you don't like, and that is what drives us every day to do better. Thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you. And last but not least, so I will say this, I'm going to preempt this because we had a conversation about this already before the webcast began. So I'm going to steal his thunder a little bit. Ramon, as you can see with the little tag underneath his name down there, it says he's the software engineer. It's really supposed to say like senior software engineering lead, but he actually likes to call himself the software guru. We made a little mistake on the tag. We didn't have time to get it updated. So I'm just going to go ahead and call myself and Eddie out for this. Hey, we make mistakes too. But, I think he was going to like give us, a good poke or a jab about it. So I'm totally stealing his thunder ahead of time. But he's probably going to say something about it anyway.
No worries. So hey everyone. So I'm Ramon. So I'm as Jason was saying, right? So I am a senior software engineer lead here in Fun North, and I know Jason. This is actually second time for me to go on the webcast because last time we did, I was like 3 years ago, Jason, right? Isn't it? And we came for the OneNote and sticky notes and all of the stuff that we were doing in notes on tasks. So super excited to be with you and talk about all the stuff that we have done here in Windows and also all the stuff that my team will show you that they worked on. And we have a really great, set of demos and that we're gonna show and stuff. So yeah, super excited about it. And Jason, no problem. Don't worry about the title.
Hey, you know what? It's not like we've never made a mistake on a webcast before. I will totally accept responsibility for it. I do apologize. Totally on my shoulders, and I'll take the blame for it. But yeah, it is fun kind of hearing some of that throwback because it was actually the first international webcast we did outside of the United States when we made the trip up to Vancouver, up in British Columbia, Canada, and we got to spend time with you and the team, and yeah, it was a whole lot of fun, especially the robot rolling into the room with the people from Redmond. That whole thing was a trip. It was a great time. It was a super fun trip. And here we are. I mean, it's 3 years later, and we're still doing webcasts. I mean, I knew these things were fun to do, but it's nice when something like this has legs and we just get to keep going with it. So anyway, we're about 10 minutes in, and I don't want to drag on any further than necessary because there's a lot of excellent content to go through today. We'll have 3 main segments that we're going to go through. We're going to start off with modern storage. I'm saying this because we have to do some camera hopping because of the number of people on the call, so we got to make sure everybody's video streams pop up correctly. So for the folks that are on the modern storage side of things, if you could go ahead and flip your video streams on, I will work on the tech side of that, and we will get this thing rocking and rolling. And here we go. So if you see a purple box, don't worry, it'll take a moment for the video stream to catch up, but it looks like everybody's here already, which is beautiful. So that being said, the folks, obviously several of the folks just did introductions and everything just disappeared. So people going in and out, I told you it's going to some weird stuff's going to happen with the camera streams. I don't actually know why I did it, which is super great. So real quick, I will let the other folks that are on here. So Akash, George, and then Tom, if you could please take a moment and introduce yourselves.
Yep. Hey guys, I'm Akash Ray, and I'm on the Fun North team as well at Vancouver. Done a bunch of work on storage related work in my year and a half here. Excited to be here. I mean, always great to talk to customers, and looking forward to answering all your questions.
Excellent.
George?
Hey folks, I'm George. I'm from the UK, but I've been out here in Vancouver working with Microsoft for about a year and a half now. And then before that, I came from Rare, where I was working on Sea of Thieves. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, so I went before, so you guys can skip me here. By the way, Jason, can we have the screen share, like the share the screen, also going for the yeah?
Absolutely. Give me one moment, and I will jump over to it. I did not realize you were already presenting. Here we go.
Yes, Tom is presenting. Yes.
Perfect. There we go. And it will go live to folks, and folks on the watching the stream should be able to see it now. There you go.
Yeah. So actually, before even we move on, I think one thing, I mean, we were discussing before we come on the show, like we have something really exciting that we want to tell you guys, right? About before even we jump to the modern storage spaces, that basically what is the stories that we're gonna tell you today, right? So the story is like the modern storage spaces that we're gonna talk about is just a part of other things that we're gonna talk about. And first one is just like we're gonna show you how to manage your disks using the storage spaces to have like resilience, and then the next one is going to be about like like what happens if something wrong happened to one of the disks, right? And then the final one is going to be like even if something bad happened, right? Like we have a tool to recover your stuff. So I wanted just to go through this like flow to let you know like what to expect during this one. But yeah, this is the first team. So and this is modern storage spaces. Tom?
Hey, yeah. So I'm Tom Lavoie. I'm a program manager lead in the storage team. I've been at Microsoft for about 12 years. I've been in the storage team for about 2.5. As Jason was saying earlier, our team is kind of all over the world. I'm in Redmond specifically, but I've been working with all these folks in Vancouver and other places. So yeah, without further ado, let me talk to you about our new Modern Storage Spaces UI. So storage spaces is a feature that's been around for quite a while in Windows, and there is an existing UI in Control Panel for managing it. This UI is pretty old. It is kind of clunky. It has some known problems and issues and bugs. It's not very accessible, and it's really just not modern. It's not integrated with a lot of our newer features. So we decided that we would take the opportunity to build a modern UI. And so there's a few things about this that I wanted to point out. So one is that this is in the Modern Settings app. It's integrated with all of the other modern settings that we have for storage. We have recently rolled out the Modern Disk Management page, and Storage Spaces kind of looks and feels like that disk management page. So it has a cohesiveness there, and it integrates with it well. You can move back and forth between them depending on what task you're doing. We really focused on accessibility, and that's something that George will talk about in a bit more depth later. And we really focused on streamlining the common tasks that you'll actually have while you're trying to manage storage spaces. Things like creating a pool, creating a space, creating a volume on that. We wanted to make sure that those would be very easy, very straightforward. And then, of course, ironing out all of the weird bugs and issues that have cropped up over the years in that legacy UI. So just in case someone's not aware of what storage spaces is, let me give sort of the 15-second pitch. The idea is that you can take all of your disks, you can pull them together into one set of shared storage. You can create spaces, which are basically virtual disks on top of that. And the really good thing about that is you can do things like you can have a mirrored array so that your data is on multiple disks, or you can do parity. And that lines up with what Ramon was talking about earlier, where spaces are part of our story about how we can make sure that your data is not going to get lost. So with that, I will hand it off to Akash to do a demo. So Akash, take it away.
Well, thank you, Tom, for talking about all those amazing improvements that we are bringing forth with the new UI. Now time to see them in action. Well, the storage spaces management page is present under System, Storage, Manage Storage Spaces. This is the landing page where we'll see all the pools present on the machine. Under each pool, we have the physical disks, which comprise the pool, as well as the storage spaces present on it. Now I know what you must be thinking. Tell me how to create my own pools and spaces. Well, right on, let's do it. So first we create the top level, which is the pools. Quickly give it a name. We can choose from a list of all the poolable disks. You can choose one or more disks to become part of this pool. Now we can see that our pool has already been created, and we're automatically taken to another dialog to create the storage space. I mean, how cool is that? Give it a name, give it a size. So just something to mention here, with the new UI, we allow creating thinly provisioned spaces. So the size of the space can be larger than the size of the pool. Coming to resiliency. So depending on how you want to protect your data, you can choose one of the 5 options. So the dual parity is a brand new option that we have added in the new UI, which wasn't part of the existing one. We also show you the free space present in the pool, as well as the chunk that this space would take up. This is to help you make a decision on the size and resiliency you want to choose for this storage space. Well, let's go ahead and create it. Okay, awesome. Now we come to another dialog, which is to create a new volume on the space that we just created. So this initializes the space and puts a volume on it. We can choose to skip this for now as well and do it later in disk management. But yeah, let's do it. Now, as we can see, we have a new pool consisting of 1 disk and a storage space on it. The storage space has the volume, letter G. Awesome. Now we have created these. Let's look at them a little bit more in detail. So for the pool, we have all the properties, including the used and free capacity, spaces, all the properties, including the health, and all the properties for disks, including the media type. Going into the pool properties, we can rename the pool quickly. We can choose to optimize it. Now, what this does is, on the underlying disk, it moves around the data such that the performance is enhanced. We also show you the version of the pool. If it's not on the latest version, then you'll also see an upgrade button, which will allow you to upgrade the pool. Now, for all of the spaces, we have an explore button, which means you can see all the files present on it. Then going into the pool properties, we can see all the different properties. We can rename it just like we did for the pool. We can open advanced disk properties, go through all these advanced properties if we want to. We can also increase the size of the storage space with an option to extend the volume on it or not if we want to. The space got extended. Now we can take it offline, bring it back online. We can change the partition style as well if there's no existing disk on it and no existing volume on it. And last but not least, we can go ahead and just delete the space. Awesome, and it's gone. Now, coming to the physical disks, we can see all the myriad properties here. We have the advanced disk properties, just like for storage spaces. Now, what we can also do is remove the disk from the pool. Now, don't worry, this won't delete your data. You won't lose any of it. This is a 2-step process. So the first is preparing the disk for removal. Now, what this does is it retires the disk and moves any data from this disk to the other disks in the pool if needed. Now, the second and the last step is to remove the disk from the pool. Now, remember that a pool is nothing but a collection of disks. And if you remove the last disk from the pool, well, abracadabra, the pool is gone. Well, that's an introduction to our new UI, folks. That's it for the demo. Now, George will take it away and give you some spicy, interesting technical details about our project. So take it away, George.
Thanks, Akash. That was an awesome demo. All right, so I just had a couple of technical notes. The first thing I want to mention is the asynchronous nature of the page. So utilizing the work we did on the modern disk management within FunNorth as well as the settings app as a whole, in fact, it's allowed us to create a totally dynamic UX. It keeps your page up to date with what's going on underneath, and this keeps you safe from errors born from inconsistency. It's also a particularly noticeable improvement with some of the longer operations from the now legacy UX and control panel, for those of you who've used that before. Essentially, everything that can be asynchronous now is asynchronous. Tom? And the other thing I just wanted to touch on is accessibility. As Tom mentioned before, but I'm definitely going to emphasize again, accessibility has been a primary concern for us here. It's been a collaboration as part of the wider effort of providing an accessible settings app. Yeah, so we're empowering all users to utilize storage spaces. We've ensured that the UX is not only usable, but intuitive to navigate with a keyboard. And yeah, it's as we've noted there, it's completely narratable. As an aside, accessibility insights, it was a really valuable tool for us here. So do check that out if you're interested in finding out a bit more about making your own stuff accessible. And that's that for accessibility. I think at this point, we've got some time for some questions if anybody wants to ask about what they've seen.
Yeah, so I will bring up one of the questions that I just saw pop in chat. I'm definitely asking this question a bit out of order. I will simply let me roll back to all of our videos real quick. This is just a technical direction thing on my side. Sorry about that. All right, so one of the questions that popped up, and I'm going to scroll back through the chat. So Eddie, if there's any other questions that we need to get to, throw those over to me in Teams, and I will make sure we get those brought up on air. First question, will the new UI handle SSD caching? I know in the past I had to use PowerShell to create an SSD cache tier and a mixed SSD and HDD pool.
So I can take that. So the answer is the new UI will not have that feature. We are aware that that is one of the most asked for things in this UI. We were really focused on just nailing the experience on V1 and making sure that we ported over all the existing features in the legacy UI. That is certainly one of the features that we are aware of that would be something to add to this new UI in the future. And I will say something to point out about putting this into the modern settings app is it's much easier to extend it and add things than it was in the old UI. So we have much more freedom to be able to go do that now than we had previously, now that we've gotten over the hurdle of doing the lift and shift, essentially.
Awesome. Another question has popped in. Will disk management... It's funny. Thankfully, it's not happening on the webcast machine. On my other machine, I got that pop-up about being reminded for an update. So I got to dismiss it out of the way so I can actually read the questions here. Guess who's behind in installing their updates? This guy. Let me start that again. Will disk management be getting a visual representation of a drive's partitions in the modern settings pages?
So that obviously, so just to clarify in case people aren't aware, so this is a question about the modern disk management, which is a separate page that we added to the settings app. That's what we were going to focus on the previous version of this webcast. So we didn't show that in the demo today, but yeah, that's a new page that we added that is intended to be a modern representation of your disks that replaces the legacy disk management that you may be familiar with. It's a very, very old technology that's 20 plus years old. So this question is basically the new one. We do not have a visual representation similar to the way the legacy one did. I'll give the same answer I gave on the SSD caching, which is essentially, I am also aware of this being one of the #1 asks. And I can't commit to us doing it in any specific time frame, but we're definitely aware that people want this. And that is one of the things that we did not bring over from the legacy UI. So that's definitely on the short list of things to make sure that we look at.
Awesome. Let's see here. So this question may be a little tangential. Forgive me. Can storage spaces format to REFS?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. There was no other context on the question. It was literally just that simple. So.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I just saw something interesting, Jason. I was people were asking something like, is this targeted to also like, enterprise or consumer, right? And also like asking about like, if it's targeted really consumers, right? Okay, like how many really like people, like regular people, right? Like someone was talking about like, I'm an IT professional who's like, and I don't see people, using all of these features if they are just like, so like, so I guess like the question is like, how is this like what are we trying to do to promote, for people to use such a feature, right? To be able to have this resilience and save their data and stuff. So I'm actually wondering, like, Randall and Chad, have you ever like set up your own, or anybody else? Like, have you guys ever set up your own storage spaces just for yourself? I never done it. I mean, I'm leading the project, but I never done it myself at home.
I have, but I've owned storage spaces for a long time, so.
Yeah. So what I mean? Okay, so I think like when we I think the other so is it like I mean is it like maybe like if you are trying to store everything at your home or and you want to have your all your storage at home, and then you want to be able to have all the replication and resilience. Like I guess like what is use cases, Tom? That's
yeah.
what I mean.
Let me take a run at that. Sure. Yeah. So we haven't really changed anything about storage spaces functionality with this, right? This is about making a better, more modern UI. So all those features that were there previously, they're there now. We haven't added or removed anything in the underlying tech. As someone was mentioning, they like to set up an SSD cache. You have to use PowerShell to do that. You'll continue to have to use PowerShell to do that for the time being. So the intent of this UI was really about making it easier to use, making it more accessible, making it a little easier to understand for someone who maybe isn't familiar with storage spaces, making it a little bit more discoverable because it's in the modern settings. So the intent of this is to make it something that an average consumer, or at least a power user consumer, would be more likely to actually go and use to, as you said, have more flexible storage or use a mirrored or a parity solution so that they can be confident their data is a little bit more protected. Certainly for enterprise, big heavy scenarios where you're using this at scale, there are other ways to manage this, things like Windows Admin Center for servers. So this is really focused on that client or maybe like a home server kind of scenario. That's where we envision this being most useful to people.
Yeah, totally. Yes. I was gonna say exactly the same thing. Like in terms of like I think it's really great that basically now it's easier for users to use it because it's in the settings, right? So that's make it really easy to discover and use and stuff, right? But I mean, yes, power users will basically just go and try to manage manage all their disks and stuff. That's pretty awesome. Sweet.
Fantastic. I will take one more quick scroll. There's a few other questions that have come in. I think some of them are a bit out of scope for the conversation that we're having. I can guide some folks, and we can possibly have some of those questions answered on Twitter or maybe even in answers, just so we can actually like do some thoughtful processing of it rather than trying to kind of put you on the spot and dig in. So for some of the questions that have come in, I apologize for not necessarily answering those directly on air. We'll do some digging and we'll circle back, because the good thing is many of the folks that are actually on the stream, they're longtime viewers and participants in the Insider program, so I know how to get a hold of them. That is one of the fun things about this, about what we do day in and day out.
Can we, Jason? Can we do a survey, like people on the chat, like like there's like 100 something people, right? Can you tell us, like something like have you ever heard about storage spaces before? If you did, sure. And like if it's a new like a thing, are you planning to start like put a bunch of disks in a computer on the desktop, right, and try to have a resilience and all of that stuff, right? So I just want to see like like how much like how much this feature is just by exposing that feature in the settings, it's new for people, right? Or just they found out about it, because I mean, I think the audience here is Windows Insiders, which is really power users. So I want to see like, and how many of you guys are going to really give it a try or thinking about it or something. Just write it in the chat. We can move on, but I will look and see. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna bring everybody for just a moment back to my now graying bearded face. I'm getting old. It's starting to show. All you insiders are, making me age faster than I should be. As Randall is giving thumbs up to me. So that being said, please keep putting those responses into the chat. Next up, we have the hardware health segment of this particular episode. So for the folks that are in the Teams call for the last segment, if you could go ahead and roll your cameras off, and the folks that are going to be presenting in hardware health, you can go ahead and roll your cameras on. So I'll give us just a moment to get that transition done. I'm trying to avoid for those of you out there watching the stream, the purple Teams boxes and all that. I'm trying to avoid that. So it looks like we're good to go. Let me go ahead and pop it up and see. Fingers crossed, right? Ramon and Chad, you can keep yours on. You are actually built into this segment, so I know that you just flipped your cameras off, but you can actually flip them back on.
Yeah, can you also like show the shared screen also? Like.
Yep. Sweet. We built these fancy like 8-packs. Hey, there's everybody. Let me get back to the screen share. And here we go. And that should be popping up now. Yes, absolutely. I know that we're going to go around and do introductions. So, Ramon, I will turn it over to you so you can introduce this segment of the team and kick off this piece of the episode.
Yes, I was not planning to do this, but I'll do it quickly. So let me tell you, very quickly, right? Like this is basically the second segment of this big thing where we say like, hey, first part we were talking to you guys about like how to manage your disks. The second one was about like, if something bad happened, like, how we gonna let you know about that disk, right? So without further ado, like I will give it to the team to go through it. Okay, so.
Thanks for the intro, Ramon. So we're here to talk to you about NVMe health monitoring, which is a really cool feature that will take a look at your storage health and send you a notification if something abnormal is detected. So we'll start by introducing the team first, and then someone on the team will talk about what this feature is. And then we have a really cool demo as well as a Q&A session. So let's get started and meet the team. Ali, do you want to go first?
Hi. Hello again, everyone. Like I did a bit of introduction early on the call, but like just to refresh my memories, I'm Ali. I'm a senior software engineering lead here in Fun North in Vancouver, Canada, and we are excited to be here with you. Bhagesh?
Hello, everyone. I am Bhagesh, and I'm a software developer in Fun North team in Vancouver. I have been with Microsoft for almost 1.5 years, and I work on a lot of projects. And NVMe SSD health monitoring is one of them. Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Yeah. Hey, folks. My name is Nick. I'm also a software engineer here in Fun North in Vancouver. Also been with Microsoft for 1.5 years. Work with all the folks on the call. Yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah, and I'm Tina. I'm the PM for this feature, as well as the feature that we'll see later on in this segment as well. And I've been at Microsoft for also 1.5 years. So we're really excited to introduce to you all of these features and show off all of the work that we've done. So without further ado, I'll let Ali take it away and talk about the features some more.
Yeah, so basically, like, I think many of us have been in that situation. It's like our storage device starts not behaving, and then we sometimes it's already too late, and it's already like in a state that we have gone through data loss, and we always like want to be on the lookout. Users have been historically using third-party like applications to do such. But now we want to like kind of have that as a part of like making sure that's like from like having the storage spaces, so you have your redundancy in place. Also be able to know if there is something going on and something wrong with your device. And then later on, we will talk about like again, like in the next section, what happens if you need to like recover your data. So our feature is specifically tailored for the NVMe SSD devices. And what we do is that we are looking into the health signals from the device. And if we figure out that there is like some kind of an issue with the device, we give the users a notification and ask them to do a backup, and they can also all use the storage health page in Settings app now to monitor to take a look at how your NVMe SSD storage devices are doing at that point. And with that, I think we can go to demo. And Nick, please take over.
Yeah, awesome. So if you just use your PC, we monitor the health signals coming from your NVMe SSD drive, and if we detect something weird, a notification like this will pop up. Yeah, hopefully will pop up soon. Yeah, and if you click on it, it'll take you to the settings page detailing what's wrong with the drive, and hopefully you will be able to back up or make a decision what to do next. If you miss this notification, don't worry about it. We'll nag you again in a couple of days, up to 7 times, I believe. Yeah. Magesh, would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So once you click on the notification, it will redirect you to the drive page that is under the storage section. So you can see we have a drive health section here, which gives you the warning. So this warning is usually generated by whatever parameters of the drive we are monitoring, and it also encourages you to backup your drive. And so you can see that we have like 3 parameters that we are showing in the drive health section. One is the estimated remaining life, available spare capacity, and the temperature of the drive. So if you want to like have more information about each of these fields, you can click on the link that is provided here. And we also provide a which directly links to the settings backup page. I will continue the demo. And so just to see like where you can see this drive health, you can go into the storage section, then manage disk and volume. Then you can see here we also show warning issues detected, and through this you can go to the drive health and see whatever is the parameters of the drive. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So that was our demo. If we want to just go back to the slides, then we can take some questions from the audience. Are there any questions?
I am taking a peek currently, and I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the big group. There we go. Now we're back on screen. Ramon, I've seen you like cruising through chat. Have you seen any questions pop up about that segment?
I see question. Yes, people are asking, what about SSDs that are pre-NVMe? Interesting.
We are currently just like focusing on the NVMe SSD drives, and we are not like looking into like the previous ones. We know like that's like there are like still like a lot of folks who are leveraging like those like kind of a bit older devices or like old, but because of like the how the current outlook is, we primarily focus on the NVMe devices.
Yes. Oh, one nice questions. About the settings. Why the settings have a lot of too much wasted space? I think they mean about the settings. Like when you open the settings, right? Like you see small things that have data, and then there is a big of a space. Like why is that? I know that you guys know the answer.
They're like can we tease folks? That might be
Yeah, I think I can take that question. Or that comment, I guess. So I think that's a really great thing to point out, and we'll definitely take that feedback and give it to our internal teams so that they can take a look and kind of see what they can come up with to address that. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, it's like I'll add on there, and this is just generalized context, right? I'm probably not going to specifically answer or add anything revolutionary to the response that was given, but like in settings especially, right? What you'll see is when you pull up a menu and you're trying to navigate to some specific action or activity, it doesn't necessarily take the entire screen with, depending on especially how big you have the settings window size to. And so depending on that, it'll adjust the size and spacing and, the font and everything. And of course, if you're on like some super large 4K monitor, compared to, a smaller, older generation, a 1080p monitor that may be like, 20 inches or something like that, you're going to get some very different visual representations. So I will say, and this isn't to kind of, change what Tina just mentioned about, potential future changes, but it does have a lot to do with individual user hardware. What are their actual resolution settings? What's the quality of the monitor being used? Because as you can imagine, insiders tend to be more cutting edge on the technology side of things. They're very tech forward. They're in that engaged and active space. I mean, heck, that's why you're watching this webcast right now. But kind of across the broader global spectrum of Windows users, whether it's a retail user kind of sitting at home on their laptop, or an enterprise or corporate user who's using Windows in their day-to-day job, the variety of hardware, and it actually ties into some of what's being talked about here between SSDs versus legacy spinning platter drives and things like that. And that's one of the things that, and I'm gonna give you a little narrative here, not that I already am not. It's super important that we have coverage and insight and get feedback from users across all of this space, because it brings up questions just like this of, why is my experience different than somebody else's, or this doesn't appear to be optimized. Why doesn't Windows, and I say that word kind of broadly generally, why doesn't Microsoft make changes to eliminate some white space or reduce kind of the visual gap that exists in certain things? And a lot of it has to do with us trying to be best optimized for most of the users across the planet. So when you make a tweak to kind of focus towards one set of users or one set of hardware, it can potentially come at the expense of users who have a different setup. So there's all about kind of trying to balance and be somewhere in the middle. So for those of you that have really high-end hardware and fancy monitors and all that, just know that you may see some visual kind of blank space like that. And it's not that we're not trying to optimize for it. It just happens to be a scenario where, in trying to do the best thing for everyone, it may be a little different than what you would hope to see in your particular configuration.
Yeah, can I take this opportunity to answer Ramon's question from the previous segment? Yeah,
Please
so for storage space, I actually use it for the hard drives. I have like 2 hard drives that were rated 0 with a hardware controller, and I had that set up for 8 years.
Nice.
For storing like movies and photos and big stuff that I always to access fast. And it used to work fine until last year my computer started hanging up, and it took a while to figure out what it was, and it turned out it was a Intel RAID controller. And I even swapped the motherboard to the one with the newer chipset, and the issue still persisted. So what I ended up doing was to remove the hardware RAID and set up a storage space with a similar RAID 0 setup, and the issue went away, and the boot time also improved. I believe there is some initialization step before it starts booting Windows, so that worked out really well for me.
That's awesome.
So is this where, I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Is this where I kind of tattle on myself and say that I still have a Windows 7 machine with spinning platter drives set up in a RAID 1 configuration?
That's awesome.
I mean, I built a computer back in 2010, and I swapped the motherboard and CPU at one point just to take an upgrade, but it remains otherwise unchanged, and I don't even remember how many drives I have in there. It's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it has an SSD as the primary drive, so there's at least 5 drives in that machine. I should probably work on updating that. Maybe this is just the kick in the pants that I need, right? It's like it's one of those things where it works, so I didn't want to touch it. But at the same point in time, it wouldn't hurt to kind of get into the modern world of, I don't know, maybe modern storage spaces. We'll see. We'll see. Let me check back to the chat and see if there were any other questions that we needed to address.
Yeah, while you're doing that, since we're going back to questions that were asked earlier, I just wanted to add a bit more information about looking at, SSD health and HDD health. So I just wanted to add that those two, it's not as simple as just reading from the device or like reading a signal from the device. So for SSDs and HDDs, what we would have to do is read the signals and then kind of make a decision about the health of the device. So it's not as clear as just healthy versus unhealthy. We would have to do a lot of data processing and trying to figure out like at the end of the day, is your device healthy or not? So that's something that I just wanted to call out because I know that internally our teams do like care about that feedback, and we often go on platforms like Reddit and we take in that feedback. So we know that this is something that users would definitely find beneficial, but at the same time, that processing and that like actually looking at the signals and making a decision is something that we're not quite ready for yet. So just wanted to add to that earlier comment.
Yeah, the problem with SATA drives is that they're not really, smart data is not really standardized, and each vendor reports their own measurements. And even if you take 2 SSD drives from different vendors, they'll be reporting complete different things. And I even personally have a SSD that reports complete nonsense. Like it has a hard-coded temperature that it's always at 30 degrees Celsius, and it's always at 100% health. So I don't know how reliable that would be.
It doesn't sound like it would be reliable at all. Oh my goodness. Nick, I will say you actually touched on the exact thing that I was going to ask. And I'll throw it out just to kind of get the question out of my head, which was knowing what you just said, Tina, which obviously is a great explanation of the scenario. There are so many manufacturers out there that have different benchmarks and bars that they set as, hey, this is what I consider 100%, or this is what I consider failing, and all the gaps in between. It's how would we even make a scenario where we kind of become the arbiter and be like, well, this is the standard we're going to set. And then you made the mention of it being a lot of data processing. And especially if you ended up in a scenario where the drive is in potentially, kind of a wonky state, maybe it's not so healthy. If you start, kind of hitting the drive to be like, hey, tell me how you're feeling, tell me how you're doing. It feels like a lot like going to the doctor's office when you're already sick and don't feel well, and the doctor's sitting there poking and prodding at you, and you're like, can this just be over with?
Exactly. I was gonna ask actually, like how many people, like people on the chat or even from us, that got SSD failure or hard disk failure. I did, and it's pretty bad experience. So I think for Windows to warn us about it before it happens, it's pretty awesome thing for sure. Have you guys seen any failures? And I have one now. SSDs that basically just went boom,
I usually jokingly say they can put me near the production line, and all the faulty devices will just be jumping at me. So I've gone through my fair share of storage failures, plus other types of failures, that is definitely something. Just also like to add to a previous question. One of the other reasons that we went for the NVMe is that there's some clear specification in a standard way for NVMe devices, and that is something that has been historically missing with the previous devices, storage devices, and that's one of the also big reasons that's NVMe has been the focus of our project and of this effort.
Yeah, to Ramon, and I don't want to take up too much time because I know we still have an entire third segment to go through. But I will say, in the experience of a failing drive, back when I started at Microsoft, and this was in January of 2012. Walked in the door, my team gave me a brand new laptop. I was super excited, right? 2 weeks in, 2 weeks, right? I'm already making presentations. I've got, data that I'm putting in Excel from working with partners in the role that I was in at that point in time. And this was before the big push to have everything on SharePoint and backed up and all this kind of stuff, right? A lot has changed in the past almost decade. Let me be clear about that. The SSD failed. And I'm like, okay, so it was saying there was no drive and it couldn't boot. I'm like, normally this would be something I would troubleshoot at home myself, but given that it's a work machine, right, I took it to the Microsoft help desk or whatnot. No, the drive had quite literally failed. And I lost the first 2 full weeks of work that I had done at Microsoft. And I had to go and have some conversations with my boss and some of my partners. And yeah, it was an unpleasant scenario. And it was, of course, nothing related to, Windows or anything. It was a piece of hardware that was, substandard. And, manufacturing processes have changed, quality has changed, a lot has happened in the past decade, but some of those early gen drives, not necessarily the best experience. So I will simply say that now I do a much better job of making sure I keep my data backed up. Lesson learned the hard way.
Nice.
Jason, I actually really, really, really appreciate that story because it's such a great segue into the next segment of the podcast and what we're going to talk about. I don't know if you had that planted or in your mind already, or you're just not good with these kinds of things.
Nope,
Yeah.
spur of the moment. It was just answering Ramon's question, but hey, I'm glad I could provide a transition. So, that being said, I am going to do what I did a moment ago. I'm going to pop up my smiling mug for just a moment while we have some of the video transitionings happening in the background. So if you are going to be presenting in the hardware health segment of things, please go ahead and flip your cameras on. And for those of you that were on the the Windows file recovery section, go ahead and flip your stuff on. For those of you that were on hardware health that will not be presenting, go ahead and flip your cameras off. It looks like we have the right crew. So I will do the same thing that we did last time. I will go ahead and bring up the screen share so that you can pop up the presentation.
Yes. Who's sharing? Tina's sharing, right? Okay, great. Yes. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
There you go.
All good?
Yep. I will turn the reins back over to you.
Okay, awesome. The next thing that we wanted to talk about is Windows File Recovery, which is a command line file recovery app that we released first sometime last year. And so the team will discuss the first iteration of the tool, look at the feedback and comments that we've gotten from our users, and also discuss the newer release, and followed by a really, really cool demo with the updated version. And then once again, we'll have a Q&A session. So yeah, without further ado, we can start by meeting the team. Aman, do you want to go first?
Yep. Hello guys, I'm Aman. I am a developer here in FunNot in Vancouver. I actually started my career with Microsoft by Windows File Recovery itself. Even though it's midnight here, I'm actually working from India right now, but super excited to be here. Matthias.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Matthias. I've been at Microsoft for about 1.5 years now. And I haven't worked on the first iteration of Windows File Recovery, so Aman helped us out into onboarding to the second iteration, and I'm super excited for you guys to see what we came up with.
Cool. So again, hi again, it's me. You guys know, this is the for this project, right? I mean, instead of me introducing myself again, I'm just gonna review what we did so far, because I think it's pretty cool. So in the morning we talked to you about modern storage spaces and how you do resilience, and then we talk to you guys about if a disk go bad, right, that we will tell you about it. And finally, I'm so excited for this project to show you what we did there, because this is how actually, even if something bad happened, right, to your disk, how you could use this tool to try to recover some of the data, and it's pretty exciting. So yeah, so look, let's see the demo. So awesome, Thiago.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Thiago. I joined Microsoft 1 year ago, and most of my time I've been working with the guys from Windows File Recovery. I didn't join in the first iteration, so I synced up with Aman and also worked with Matthias to bring this new version that I hope you enjoy it. So that's it.
Yeah, and I'll just add a bit to the introduction because I was in the previous one, so you already know who I am. But WinFR is very close and dear to my heart because it's the first project that I worked on when I joined. And even though for V1 it was kind of a different group of devs that I worked with, everyone was super nice and really helpful with getting me onboarded and making sure that I knew what was going on. So I'm really excited to show kind of the progression and the journey that we've kind of made from V1 to V2, and also kind of just look forward to what's to come in the future. So yeah. And I'll turn it back to Aman to talk about V1.
Sure. So like Tina and Ramon already mentioned about the usability of the tool when it's supposed to be used. So if there is ever a scenario you kind of lost your data or deleted it, then that's where Windows File Recovery comes into place. So as part of the version 1, we offered 3 recovery modes. To name them, essentially, we have segment mode, signature mode, and one of them is the default mode. So the first 2 modes, the segment mode and default mode, essentially kind of depends on the file system structure. So they only work for NTFS file systems. But just in case you do not have NTFS file system, we have signature mode that kind of works for different file types and depends on the file types itself and does not relate to the file system per se. Then other than the modes, we have different filters. So if you could look into the examples usage, so if you try to run the tool, you will provide the source volume that you're trying to recover. Then you'll provide the destination volume onto which you will want your files to be present once the recovery is performed. And then you could have few switches in order to help the recovery process move much faster. For example, you may want to just recover specific file types like PDFs or JPEGs, or you know that you have lost your data from a specific folder. So you could also specify the location of the folder itself from which you want the recovery to make sure happens. Moving on to the how we performed as part of version 1. So one of these striking feedbacks that we actually received was not essentially related to the overall functionality, but how the tool itself is being used. So since it's a command line tool and we had different recovery modes, the tool itself wanted user to be made sure which file system they have on their systems in order to run a particular recovery mode. And that's where the technical knowledge comes into play. And that's what our users kind of felt. It's more towards a technical savvy person. And that's how the ratings kind of boil down essentially. But Tiago, I'll move to Tiago in order to, update you how we use this feedback to improve on version 2. Tiago?
Thank you, Aman. So basically, we came up with a new version, a new update for Windows File Recovery. And the most important change is basically the addition of 2 new modes, and they are more simplified as well. So firstly, we have the regular mode, which is the current default mode now. And it's basically the option where when you need to recover files, but you don't have so much time, so that's your go-to for most of the situations. It only supports NTFS for now, but it can quickly recover files when you're short on time and you just need those files back, but without taking much of a toll in terms of time. On the other hand, we also have extensive mode, which is a more powerful but also more time-consuming mode, which is it basically runs the 3 initial modes that we talked about earlier, and it goes with a more optimized way. So it's very interesting. The results are the recovery results is way better. So it's the best option if you have time to spare and you want to recover as many files as possible with the expense of time. But aside from those modes, we also have faster scans and recovery process. We also made a lot of bug fixes and edge case coverability, and the application is now way better in terms of stability, in recovery success. So it's a really interesting improvement. And we also made some background improvements for further features that we want to release in the future. So please stay tuned. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass the word to Matthias so we can give a brief demo about what we've been doing so far. So Matthias.
I'm gonna take over now. Everyone can see the screen. All right. So let's just say that I have this volume here with a few files that are important to me. So for example, we have a few photos, a night sky, a lone fusilli that I cooked a long time ago, and we have a few documents, a PDF document, fairly straightforward. And we also have a super secret presentation that we put up for work, but something happened and it's actually corrupted. So we want to fix that. But on top of that, because we are so unlucky, we accidentally permanently deleted all of the other files, and we of course want to recover that. So what we can do is go to the store, grab Windows File Recovery, and that will help us recover those files. So what I like to do is come in the search and search for Windows File Recovery to find the app. You'll ask for elevation, and then you see the terminal screen, and you're greeted with the help page. As you can see here, you can use /regular to use regular mode and /extensive to use extensive mode. So let's try first regular mode. So what we're going to want to do is type in WinFR, and then we will specify the source drive where we're going to be scanning for the lost files, and then the destination path on where those files will be recovered to. And this is I'm just going to put in my root C folder for now, and then I'll specify /regular. It is the default mode, so you don't actually need to specify the /regular, but just for clarity. And then you're going to get a summary of what's going to happen. Some of the parameters that you put in the destination folder, we create a folder for you to put all of your the recovery data. And then if we press Y to continue the process, you can see that it recovered 6 files. So if we go ahead and press Y again to see those recovered files, we can see them right here. And all my photos are around here. My documents are all back. Oop, I don't want to sync my profile. But our super secret presentation is actually still not here because it was corrupted. So the regular mode is usually used, as Tiago mentioned, if you want a fast recovery, but also it doesn't cover the worst cases, right? This is mostly just for when you accidentally delete files and things like that. So it might not recover everything that you need, depending on the situation. So what you can do is now specify extensive. And then if we rerun the command using extensive mode, you see the same summary. So if we go ahead and continue this, oops, let me try that again. I think A lot of things happen on this VM. On my computer, it's not handling this correctly. So let's do this again. Oops, extensive. Then if you press Y, all right. And now we see that we recovered 7 files instead of 6. So if we press Y again, we can see the same files around here. And we also have this new folder for PowerPoint presentations. And if we open this, we have our presentation back, which is great. And if you notice here, we don't have the name for the presentation, and that's an indication that, as I mentioned, the file is corrupted. So what we couldn't recover the name of the file, so we had to just reconstruct the PowerPoint based on its data. So since we can't find the file name, we just name it as a sequence of numbers. So this is it for the demo. We hope that you don't have to use this tool, but if you have to, if you lost your data, we are here to help you. So that's it. Tina wants to take control back.
Yeah, so I think it's just the Q&A section that is left over.
All right.
You may have to share your screen in a bit again, but we'll see how we answer some of these questions.
Right.
I'll give you a second to read the chat, but I think the first question, sorry, Jason, I'm totally stealing your job here. The first question is about a GUI for WinFR, and I think Chad is actually a great person to answer that question.
Yeah, I from the question standpoint, it's a great question, and I think we've heard the feedback loud and clear that there needs to be a UX associated with recovery, and we will be looking into how we can address this in the near future. So thanks for the feedback.
Cool. Oh, I have a funny one or a fun one. Matthias, are you sure that you deleted everything even from the recycle bin? Yeah, because I mean, people said like they did not see it very quickly. So what's up with that? Like,
yeah, sorry about that. I went a bit too fast. Maybe didn't pick up. I definitely control deleted it. I can actually, it might actually be on my recycle bin because of some of the tests that I did before. So I'm not sure if I can actually prove that it didn't go to my recycle bin.
Yeah. So it is deleted, guys, from the recycle bin to its hard delete. Right?
Yeah,
like
actually, it's not. Yeah, it's not even on my recycle bin. I think.
Yeah, it wouldn't be because it's just poof.
yeah. I mean, you know, you can believe what you want, you know. You can actually use the tool, right? It's in the store.
Exactly.
You don't need me to prove it. You can just see for yourself.
Yeah, that's one of the fun shortcuts, and you know, like Jen, who works as a community manager and does a lot of stuff in the feedback space. One of the things she does is she posts a bunch of shortcuts on Twitter on, hey, did you know that this shortcut does this and that or whatever. And I don't know if she's ever posted that shortcut to do what I'll just call the skip the recycle bin step, where it's just like, yes, I want this file permanently gone. Let's just kind of push it off so that the drive gets, you know, opened up to be overwritten on. I don't know if she's posted that one before, so I'll have to follow up and ask her, and, you know, we'll see. But yeah, absolutely. So that is one of the fun things is you get in the habit of using shortcuts, and it's just like second nature at that point. So I'm delaying the update on the other machine again. It keeps popping up once an hour, and we've been broadcasting for just over an hour, so it's asking me again. There was, so Tina and Chad, the two of you, went through and posed the GUI question that was there. I'm scanning back over, which is why I'm looking away from my webcam currently. Let's see here.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things as well is there was a comment about, you know, updating the UI UX surfaces for WinFR. And I think one of the things to note there is WinFR is shipped over the store. So when we do, when and if we do add a UX to the application, we'll release an update over the store and it'll just flow down to your machine automatically.
I'm over here giving the excellent finger tapping thing. And this is one that is, I will just say, kind of broadly speaking, and I realize it's not specific just to storage related items, but that's one of the beautiful things about having the OS broken into like somewhat of segments and whatnot, and being able to take updates from the store. It kind of speeds up getting some of those fixes and changes that may be coming down to users in a way that prevents some of that. Oh, hey, we've had this thing kind of waiting on the back burner for 6 months or a year. Here it is finally. Because especially when you get to make some things that actually improves the quality of life for users, you don't want them to have to wait a year to get it. So that kind of thing. All right. Were there any other specific questions? Looks like a lot of it was related to really asking for a graphical user interface. But yeah, I think the point that was made about hopefully not having to use it, but it's nice to have it in case you do. I think that's a really good summary for this particular feature and functionality. It's absolutely.
Yeah. Also, I think it's good to mention quickly that if it's a good thing to already have WinFR on your computer in case you need it. You don't want to have to download it when let's say you lose your files. When you download something, it might or might not override the files that you just lost. So if you're afraid that you're gonna lose your files at some point, maybe just have WinFR ready to go installed on your computer.
And I'm over here searching in the store for it right now.
and also you can verify if Matthias deleted the stuff from the recycle bin or not. So you do it for yourself. Like delete the stuff even from recycle bin and then run it and see.
Yeah, we can actually even recover from the recycle bin.
Yeah. Totally.
So.
Yeah, I will. Let's see more. Close. I have the store pulled up, and there's usually a share link in the store, and I don't know if I'm just overlooking it or what. Because I was going to share it in the chat so folks could have an easy access to go get it. Either way, if you pull up the Microsoft Store and just do a quick search for Windows File Recovery, it'll be the first thing that pops up. And as you saw during the demo at the very beginning, the icon for it is the traditional yellow folder, so like the file folder you would see with a little stethoscope on it that you would see in a doctor's office. So that's how you know you're grabbing the right one. It should be in the first one in the left of the results that pop up. If there aren't any more questions, I will give chat a moment to say, pose up if there was anything else that they wanted to ask specific to file recovery. If not, I knew there were a few folks that were asking to just do kind of a broad-based Q&A session, and we do have a little bit of time. So, if not... Oh, Hotcakes just posted a link in there. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. You did something I was apparently not able to do, so I'm very thankful for that. So if the group is okay with it, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to switch our team session into gallery mode, or together mode. And then it's going to disappear for everybody on the chat. It's going to look really weird. And then here we go. I'm putting us all up. So anybody else who does not have their camera turned on right now, if you would like to turn it back on, you are welcome to. You will pop up with this in together mode that everybody is now seeing in chat. I love using this feature. It's so much fun. Just
yeah. It's pretty good.
So general just questions, and Randall's apparently trying to this is the same kind of antics that happens in our internal chats as well, is always be like, oh, hey, I'm going to reach over and like, I'm going to poke Chad because I'm sitting next to him. And oh my goodness. Right. Oh my goodness.
That's pretty cool.
Way too much fun. So as I'm waiting for the audience, so if you are watching the webcast, I think it was Chris that had some questions or maybe multiple questions he wanted to ask. Go ahead and throw those in chat. We'll try to get them answered here on air. While we're doing that, while we're waiting for those to pop in, I will say something. And I mentioned this in chat not too long ago, but it goes to the point that a few of the folks made when they were talking about how long they've been at Microsoft and the things that they're working on. And a few folks said they've been here 18 months. And I don't want to belabor the point, but obviously the world's been in a very different place for the past year, a little over a year, depending on where you are and timing of things. So to see some of the folks that are on this team that have presented in this session today, to know that you came and started at Microsoft at a time that the world was really kicking off a highly unexpected series of changes, and to see how much you have contributed and accomplished during that time period. I mean, just from me to you, like, I want to say thanks for all the hard work that you've put in. Like, this is not an easy thing. All of us have had to adjust no matter how long we've been here. I don't even know how long Randall's been here. It's been a really, really long time.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I'm trying to call him old or anything, but, you know, just going to put him on blast just a little bit. Just a little bit. I love messing with him. But for those of you who haven't been here very long, I just want to say thank you for the hard work that you've put in. I appreciate the accomplishments that you have. What is showing up for users, and on top of that, the continued work, because there are things that are still happening behind the scenes. There's always new features and new work that's forthcoming. Some of the feedback that we received out of the chat today, no doubt that's going to influence some of what may happen in the future. But give yourselves a pat on the back. Like, you don't actually have to like virtually do it or anything. I kind of am anyway. But seriously, y'all have done an amazing job. Whether you've been here 18 months or 10 years or 20 years or whatever, we're in a different place in the world right now, and to see the continued hard work come and land like this in a way that really affects like actual folks and their files and the way they use Windows, like, it's a big accomplishment, and it's not something to be understated. So I don't want to belabor the point any further, but I will say thank you to you all for doing a fantastic job.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's very well deserved, so please keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Let's see here. One question: do you plan to add WinFR by default in Windows? So I will kind of rephrase that question a little bit. I know that there are some store-based apps that take updates from the store and whatnot that get pre-stubbed in Windows. So when you do an install, it automatically goes and pulls them down. So I think that's kind of where this question kind of leads into is, has there been any thought to potentially pre-stubbing this so that when folks need it, it's kind of already there? Because if you don't know to go download it, chances you don't know the actual functionality exists.
Yeah. I would like to take that actually question, because I mean, we totally get it and we think about it all the time, right? Because it's important, but every decision we try to take for these things in Windows, right, it has to be data driven in terms of like, figuring out like, how much really the user needs to have this in their computers, right? And also the size of this and how if it's going to affect the size of Windows itself and all of that, right? So we are really, really, really thinking about it hard and trying to, figure out like, is it the right thing for the users or not, like based on the data, and we will see in the future for sure. Chad, you look like you want to add something.
Nope. I just totally laughing because it is, all of these decisions are challenging. Putting things in the build is, difficult. We have metrics and data that leads to us trying to reduce the footprint of Windows image on people's drives all the time. We're trying to push that envelope, and when you pull things in with relatively large UX surfaces, you tend to add to that envelope fairly significantly. So these are always difficult, challenging choices to make, and we'll do the right thing based on the data and user feedback as we move forward.
Yeah, it's you brought up one of the points that I don't think it gets spoken about frequently enough, and it's like the download sizes of us shipping updates, and insiders know this all too well. Every time we ship a build to insiders, that's not just a cumulative update. So we send out CUs, so cumulative updates, so a CU, to insiders. We try to do it with frequency as we test the servicing pipeline and things like that. But what I would just call the regular build series that gets delivered to insiders, generally each Wednesday is when we tend to flight, like we launched one this morning. Those are full updates. And so the footprint of the size of the download that comes down, everything that we add into the OS, and it's like, oh, hey, it's just a stub for the store. It's only an extra, 100 kilobytes or a meg or whatever the size might be. I can't tell you exactly what it is offhand. Every time something like that happens, it starts adding up, and it's like, oh, it's only a meg, it's only a meg, it's only a meg, right? But by the time you actually add however much you end up adding, you're like, oh wait, we've expanded the footprint by how much? So you're absolutely right, and I might be, you know, overstating the point a little bit, but there are trade-offs to be made between the footprint of the OS, how it affects boot times, what all is being loaded at runtime when the OS is actually starting, things like that. These are all things that have to be taken into consideration. And one of the things that's really important to folks is having a speedy and efficient operating system. And so we really do have to balance those trade-offs. Somebody just mentioned that they finished updating today. Okay, so Evil Pro did ask his question, so I'm just going to read it here, and if we can answer it, great. If not, great. We'll figure it out. So here we go. Is the disk management UI with disks and partitions going to get a visual overhaul, or is the version found in current Insider builds meant to stick around for longer? I think this kind of ties back to some of the GUI questions from earlier. It feels a bit unfinished with some of the lack of visuals. It's very text-driven right now. The old one had icons and colors to display partition types. So I don't know if there's a specific response to that, or if it's just kind of ties back to what we addressed with some of the GUI type commentary earlier.
Yeah, I would just reiterate that, you know, the making it both more visually useful, you know, using visuals to show kind of important info, and then also just making it, you know, more visually attractive. You know, that's definitely, as I said, the number one feedback that we're kind of aware of. The intent is, you know, what you see now that is V1. The goal was to really just nail the functionality. And that's, you know, that's true of disk management as well as storage spaces, right? We really focused on just getting the feature set first. But yeah, having more advanced visualizations, having things like iconography, yes, we've heard that feedback multiple times. It's definitely the number one thing we hear. So yeah, I mean, we know that we need to think about how, you know, when can we address that? I mean, that's pretty much all I can say, right? We know that we need to look into it.
Sure. Another question popped up, and it may be out of scope, so no pressure to answer this one. Is it too far out of scope to ask about backup and recovery options for games we install with Game Pass from the Windows Store? And I'll expand this question a little more broadly. Like, is there a way that users can set up to kind of handle this for specific things on their OS? Like, I know that historically you could say, you know, like you could use third-party software to say, hey, copy everything from this particular folder. Like, say you had a photos folder, copy this folder onto an external drive, because there's always a piece of software running, checking for updates and things like that. So asking more kind of broadly, like, is there ways that users can set to do backup and kind of recovery for specific things that they deem important on their own system?
I think I would call that out of scope for this. I don't think we have anyone here who's an expert on that. So
yeah. Awesome. I'd like to see here. There's a few questions related to the Insider program. Is legacy disk management going to be removed in the future? I know that's coming in the future. Okay.
Well,
Easy answer.
Okay. Let me, you know, qualify that with, we have no current plans to do that. You know, I'm not committing to forever, but yeah, there are no plans to remove that in the near future. If that's working for you, great, right? I'm not going to tell you not to use it, right?
Sure.
But yeah, the intent is that all, you know, new work will be on the new one. And yeah, maybe one day in the far future we will remove it, but yeah, there's no plans to do that.
All right. A question about feature parity functionality. I think some of that probably just has to do with what's been migrated over with versus what potentially hasn't. A few other questions that aren't specific to storage related items. Okay. Well, we've been at this for almost an hour and a half. We did take a bunch of questions. There was a few questions we didn't necessarily address. I've made some notes of those. I can follow up with all of you from the storage team, and we can kind of tackle those and see what kind of answer we could give if we're going to respond to those. But winding down here, I will simply say this. I really appreciate y'all making the time to come back on once again. I know the mishap last year wasn't the greatest of things. It was super frustrating if you had made the time on your calendars, set up your presentations and everything. Didn't quite go as planned. This session has gone a little differently this time for the better. And I'm super thankful for each one of you who has made the time to come and present, walk through your demos, share your stories, talk about the hard work that you've put in. Can't thank you enough. I really appreciate the insiders who've taken the time to join us today and kind of come back and hear a little more about this story. I'll just kind of open it up to those of you who are presenting, if you have any closing remarks or anything you want to say as we wrap up here. I think you're muted, Randall. I think Randall's trying to talk, but he's on mute.
Yes.
Nope, still muted.
Jason, is it from your side? Not from your side, right? Like.
Let me double check. There should be no reason for him to be muted. Let me see here.
Okay.
And nope. Let me go back. I'm clicking around randomly. Randall, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened here. I'll tell you what. I will flip us back out of gallery mode. I'll put us back into gallery mode so that I can flip back, and then here we go. So hopefully Randall comes back through at this point. Randall, if you want to go ahead and try saying whatever it was you were saying, maybe I got it worked out. Nope, there's no audio coming through. Oops. Sorry, Randall. So Randall was going to say something obviously super important and life-changing, but maybe it was going to be super top secret, and we're just preventing him from saying it. So you can see him on the video, whatever it was he was going to say, and I'll make sure and get the word out on his behalf. Anybody else? Eddie says he can hear you now. Uh-oh. It's funny. I'm glad that whatever this was, that it didn't happen until the very end of the broadcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say, to everybody who's watching and giving feedback and actually trying out the insider builds, thank you. It's really just so valuable to us to know what people think and to, have people try everything out and tell us what's wrong, tell us what's right. It's super awesome to be able to get that feedback from people.
Yeah.
And now Randall.
Randall is writing something for us on the paper.
Pull it back from the camera just a little bit. Just hold it like back down by your chin, and I think it says thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Randall. I appreciate the heck out of Randall and his sense of humor. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Thank you, Randall. Thanks, Chad.
You needed to write it backwards, Randall.
Yeah, because Teams always flips the image. Hey, Randall, I can actually hear you now. Did you say something? Nope.
No.
Nothing.
All right. Well, I think I've taken up enough of your time, right? I've got pretty much your whole team here. I will cut y'all loose. Again, I will simply say to all the insiders who have tuned in for today and to all the presenters here, I will just say thanks. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you sharing the information that you have today. For those of you out there who joined us this session late, we will get the video on demand posted up. It'll show up here on Twitch. We'll also grab it and post it out on our YouTube channel so you can check it out there as well. But once again, on behalf of all of our presenters today and on behalf of the Insider team who's kind of behind the scenes today, really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being Windows Insiders. Thank you for joining us. And we will catch you next month on the next edition of the Windows Insider Webcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.